Well, that's the great thing about comedy is that we need funny people in this world, and that's why you're on the show today. I wish you were funny. Greetings, red tie community. It's the bald guy in the red tie, John Butler, your favorite bald-headed, red tie wearing, not comedian. But guess what, folks? I have a comedian on the show today, Mr. Rocky Osborn. Woo!
Do they add like applause?
No, it's gonna have to play out in your own mind.
All right. I'm sure it was playing in everybody's mind that saw this. Both of them are going to hear that.
All two people.
All two people that listen to this.
Because you and I are pretty much the only people who are going to watch this.
That's it. But I'll share it like 700 times. So.
And you're just going to rewatch it 700 times?
It's going to be like shared 700 times, viewed once.
Yeah. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we have Mr. Rocky Osborn on the show today. Red Tie community. We took a little break during the summertime, and I'm glad to be back in the studio, and I'm glad to be back with somebody that is funny. Ish. You're the best comedian for the price range and the budget that we had.
That's correct.
Zero.
Which is correct. That's actually my intro. I don't know if you knew that.
I know. That's why I totally ripped it.
That's okay. You're
I Carlos Mencina-'d you.
You Carlos Mencina-'d me. That's
I
very
took
nice.
your material.
I love it. You're not the first person to take my material either.
Yeah.
I've heard stories.
Yeah.
So what's happening? How was your summer?
Man, my summer was great. I went on a vacation. I did dad stuff. I did real estate stuff, which basically sums up my life.
What kind of dad stuff do you do in your...
Well, I yelled at the kids.
Right.
Right. Got to keep them in line.
Right.
And we went motorcycle riding, rode dirt bikes. We went to Zion National Park.
Fun.
Yeah. So 3 growing boys in the back of the truck. And they were fine until we hit about 70 miles an hour, and then the wind just pushed them out. So that's my attempt at comedy. I'll let you tell the jokes. I'll let you do it.
No. Yours are funnier, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Everyone's heard all my jokes already 700 times. You're like, oh, my God, change the channel. We've seen this guy 700 times.
Well, let's jump into your history and your background, because you are kind of the comic of the area, because I don't know any other comics of the area.
Yeah, I'm like grandpa comedy. Which, speaking of which, over the summer or within the last month and a half, I found out that I'm going to be a grandfather.
Wow.
Yeah, so that's new to me.
That's big news, man.
I don't like talking about it, so let's change the subject.
All right, let's dive into that, man. So, Grandpa, we're gonna call you Grandpa Rocky, or
we're
what?
not. No, I think it was funny because my buddy Joel Silverthorne says he kept calling me Geo after I told him that. I'm like, "What's Geo?" And he's like, "Geo," and then he wouldn't tell me, and he would just change the topic, and I was like, "Oh." And then finally, I think the 3rd or 4th time we chatted, I said, "Do you want to let me in on the joke?" And he goes, "Geo, Grandpa Osborn." And I was like, "Oh, that's funny." So I told my daughter, "Your kid will call me Geo."
That's cool.
I like that better than
Grandpa.
the alternative. Yeah.
Because how old are you?
48. I'll be 40. I said to my daughters, I said, "Here's the deal. All I ask is that you don't make me a grandpa before I'm 50. At 50, I feel like, okay, I'm at the right age, I can be a grandpa."
Sure.
So my daughter comes out to visit, and she says, "Congratulations, you're going to be a grandpa." And I'm like, "Oh." And then I tried to punch her in the stomach, and she took a step back. That's when I knew she was serious. And I was just like, "Oh." And I said, "I thought we had a deal that not till I'm 50. She goes, "No, good news. The baby won't be born till February, and your birthday's in November." I'm like, "I'll be 49 in November." She's like, "Oh." So, either she's bad at math or bad at other stuff. So, yeah. But anyway, so that's new for me.
Right on.
That'll be a new chapter in the book of Rocky Osborn.
Well, let's start back at the early chapters, sir. How did you get into comedy?
The real story?
I want the real story.
Kevin Hart was just walking down the street one day, and wait a minute, I'm pretty sure I'm older than him. Man.
Were you walking on your knees so you could see him eye to eye?
I didn't say that, Kevin. That was John Butler. He lives at 23157. So you know what? Comedy is great. So it was a total fluke, and I joined the Air Force right out of high school, which was a joke. And I was in the Air Force. The guys all got together. I'm 19 years old, so I'd been there for just a short time, and they said, "Hey, man, we're all going to go to the comedy club. You want to go?" And I didn't know any better, grew up in Alaska, so jumped in a car. I grew up in Alaska, joined the Air Force. They said, "Where do you want to be stationed?" I said, "Alaska." They go, "Nebraska?" Go ahead. So here I am in Nebraska, middle of nowhere, literally. And we ended up going to this comedy club. Well, we get there, and it's amateur night. And we're at the window, and we're all paying to get in, and the lady's checking everybody's ID. So I pull up my ID, and she says, "You have to be 21 to come in." And I went, "Oh, I didn't know." So now I'm thinking to myself, I'm going to go sit in the car for 2 hours while these guys are in here. And she said, "Unless you're performing on amateur night." And my buddy goes, yeah, he was going to perform. And the next thing you know, I'm number 5 in line to get up on stage and do. Oh yeah, I mean, I didn't know what I was going to do, but luckily, I've always been a good speaker. Right. I've been doing magic since I was 9 years old. Yeah. But it's not like I had magic with me or anything. You know what I mean? It's just me and my. So I got up and I did 5 minutes of. Paul Rodriguez's material. I got off the stage, and the lady comes up to me and says, "Look, you can't do other people's material." And I said, "Look, this was I wasn't supposed to be on stage, right?" So I explained to her what happened and how my buddy said that, but it wasn't really true, but it was the only way I was going to get in. And she laughed and she said, "You've got great stage presence. Write your own jokes and come back." So a month later, at the next open mic, I had my own jokes, and next thing you know, 30 years later, I'm still not famous.
Yeah, how'd that career path turn out for you?
Yeah, it didn't turn out so good, so I went and got a job. But no, so that's actually how I got into stand-up comedy, and I just did stand-up. And then I think a month later when I came back, I'd written some jokes, but then I brought magic this time, and I thought, I'll do some magic. And lo and behold, when I got there were 2 other guys doing magic as well. Oh, damn it. Very, very talented magician out of Arizona, Michael Strange. He called himself Mike Strange back then. His real name is Mike Fisher. He's absolutely amazing. And I will tell you, like, when I don't understand a trick or I'm like going, wait, what just happened? He's my go-to guy, right? I call him and I'm like, hey, Mike, what happened? Or we share tricks and, he'll come up and visit or, we'll get together and I'll show him a trick and he's like, show me how you did that. And I'm like, all right. So
wait, I thought that's the cardinal rule of magicians.
Magicians can tell other magicians. If I tell you, I'll get kicked out of Hogwarts. So I just can't tell you how it works. But him and then another great kid who I haven't seen, in many, many years, Eric Anderson was a great magician. So I stopped doing magic for the comedy shows and I just went to doing straight comedy. And then in Omaha, I'm sure you can get it, there were only like 5 or 6 comics at the time. So we all traveled around and did comedy together throughout the different bars and stuff like that. And Mike did magic and I did comedy. And then we had a few other regulars. And then every once in a while, somebody else would jump in and perform with us. So that's my story.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah. My story.
How do you actually get into the writing process? Do you actually physically write out your jokes, or do you kind of like mull it over in your head for a little bit, or how's that process work?
In the beginning, I'd write my jokes down, but then since the cell phone technology, everything I do into voice recording, because with comedy, it is all about delivery, right? So you want to make sure that when you're delivering a joke, the way you say it can make it funnier or not funny. I'll give you a great example. I do a joke about how I got booked in Vegas to do a bingo hall. And I didn't know it was a bingo hall. They just said, hey, show up in Vegas. You're going to do this place. And I show up, of course, in your mind, you're thinking, I'm going to go do Caesars, and then you get there and it's a bingo hall downtown. And I get there and I walked up and I go, yeah, I'm here to do comedy, but maybe I'm early because there's a game going on. She goes, or the game's getting ready to start. And she says, no. Once this starts, we thought in between games, it would be great to have a comedian come up and do jokes. And I'm like, I don't know if you've ever been to a comedy show before. That's not how it works. And B, I don't know if you've ever been to bingo, John, but they don't want to hear comedy. They want to hear numbers. Yeah. So I get up on stage, or I get up there and I'm starting to tell jokes. I'm like, how's everybody doing? All right, well, I've been doing some online dating lately. I go in this, and some old lady in the back goes, shut up and call the numbers. And I'm just like, oh my God. So I start telling jokes and calling numbers at the same time. I'm like, so I met this girl the other day online. Her name was B7. Anyways, we had a great night. We had fun. I, 19, took her back to my place.
And 69?
Yeah, she had a big butt. She bent over. I was like, gee, 54. Yeah, so, so when you do this joke, it's very important that you're doing everything. And when I say, this woman in the back goes, the lady in the back goes, shut up and call the numbers. And then I laugh. That's intentional. I laugh every time intentionally because it makes everybody else laugh. It adds to the joke. If I just go, shut up and call the numbers, it doesn't get as big of a laugh as it does as if I go, then this lady's going, shut up and call the numbers. So it makes people laugh because you're laughing. So that's it's funny. So when I do it, I prefer to speak everything into there. But some people will tell you, Christopher Titus, very, very popular comic. I talked to him once when he was performing locally, and and he said he was telling another comedian that had asked him. He goes, sometimes I sit down and write for 25 to 40 minutes. He goes, I'm just writing. He goes, I'm not writing anything funny. But then he goes, my comedy genius starts to kick in after a while. So I thought that was really interesting. And then the guy he told that to, Frank Castillo, who just recently last year won the roast battle on Comedy Central. So I think he was the one he said that to. So he was like, man, yeah, I just need to start writing and, doing this. And so for me, stuff just pops in my head. and then I'll think something's funny, and then I go, I'm going to write that down. But I put it in my phone, or a lot of times I'll text it to myself. So if I open my phone right now and looked at it, I will have jokes in there that I've never done. But I write stuff down. Or I'll write down a premise. Oh, that was kind of funny, you know. Today it was a funny story, because I put something in my phone today, and it was about when you were little. You know, you think about dating these days, how you got online dating. And remember when you were little, you just wrote down on a piece of paper, do you want to be my girlfriend? Yes or no, circle 1. And then you'd slide it over to the girl, right? And then, of course, she would just, laugh and set it on fire. But I'm assuming that's what happened to everybody.
Along with your hopes and dreams.
Well, along with my hopes and dreams. And so it was funny. So just that premise, I think about that, and then I write that down. And then I started thinking to myself, you know what else is funny is how they say, oh, this stuff, everything you're learning is going to prepare you for something later in life. And you're like, at no point did I ever, while working at McDonald's, did I ever have to figure out what, 3 times 7 inside parentheses plus this, it was
Right.
like, but, so I think there's comedy in that, talking about how I never use that. I haven't written anything for it yet, but it's just a premise. And then later on, I kind of revisit it and start moving
So you
stuff
plant
in.
seeds, and sometimes they grow faster than others, and then you harvest them, and then you got jokes.
Yeah.
That's called a metaphor.
Yeah. Opposite of a simile. Just last night I was helping my girlfriend's daughter do her homework, and it had a sentence, and it's like, is this a metaphor or a simile? And then she's like, they call me Mr. Rocky, or she calls me Mr. Arassica, because I'm from Alaska. I'm from Alaska, and she says she couldn't say Alaska when I first met her, and she would say Alaska. So then she kept calling me Mr. Alaska, and then somehow turned into Mr. Arassica. But so she's like, Mr. Araska, she's like, what's the difference between a simile and a metaphor? And I'm like, hey, look, Star Wars is on. So I had to explain it. It's funny you brought that up, because that was last night's teaching subject at home.
That's awesome.
Because apparently I'm the teacher now.
You are. You are the wise one of wisdom.
Oh my God. And she told her mom she wants to be a comedian like me. I said, great, go tell your dad that and see what happens.
Whoa.
He'll kill her.
Yeah, pretty much. And so people probably know of you most famously from the local area here in the Temecula Valley. Mm-hmm. You were the proprietor of Aces Comedy Club, along with, what was the one downtown?
Well, I had Aces Comedy Club, and then I moved into what was 3rd Street Smokehouse, owned by Craig Puma.
That was a fantastic place, man.
It was a great place. I mean, he had better food than we did. But yeah, we moved into there for about a year. Tried to do comedy in there and stuff like that. And
then somebody shattered all the bathroom stalls.
Yeah, it is what it is. You know what I mean? We tried running a nightclub out of there. We tried doing all kinds of stuff to keep that place alive, and it was just, it's unfortunate. It's funny because you could say it's a bad location, but it's not a bad location. One of the biggest complaints we got was, we don't like coming to the shows down there because there's no parking. I'm like, we're right across the street from the
parking structure.
Yeah, but nobody, it was just funny, but like nobody cared to check it out and see if that was true. You know what I mean?
Wow.
But who knows? So
I went to a couple shows there, and I think Ron Jeremy showed up.
Nope.
That was awesome.
No comment. Ron was a great guy. It's always funny to meet. It's funny to meet your heroes or people that you respected growing up. When I was a kid, my favorite comedian was Bobcat Goldthwait.
Yeah.
Right? Bobcat was that guy. He's just like, ah! And I absolutely loved Bobcat. And for my birthday, the first year we were open at Aces, I had asked Bobcat to come out. And I'd never met him, and he did it, and it was great. And then I think 2 years later, I brought him out for my birthday again. And it was like my treat to myself. Happy birthday to me. And it's great when you get to meet people like that. And, look, we all know who Ron Jeremy is. And if you don't know who Ron Jeremy is, you're lying. But, you're not fooling anybody. But so when Ron came out, it was interesting because you almost think people in that industry are going to be strange or weird. And he was just such a down-to-earth, great guy. And I'd watched a documentary about him a while back. That was like on Showtime or something like that. It was really interesting. So for me, it was funny because I was like, oh, I remember this documentary, and there was this, and there was this. And he's like, oh, yeah, that's true. Yeah, no, that was all true. So it was interesting to talk to him, but super talkative. Mm-hmm. And as you know, sometimes you'll meet people that are who you think are going to be great to meet, or who are a certain character on TV, and then you meet them in real life, and they're like, hey, look, man, when the show ends, I just want to leave. I don't want to meet anybody. And you're kind of like, oh, you suck.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So,
no, he was out there, and for those who actually don't know who he is, he's probably one of the biggest, pun intended, adult film stars,
pun intended.
And with several thousand credits to his name, kind of thing. So, what you believe on that or not, morally, it is what it is. But he's one of the biggest names in that industry. But super nice guy, and I remember shaking his hand and then thinking,
should I go wash my hands?
Where has that hand been?
Yeah. You know, what's funny is when I was married, I've been married twice. My second wife was a flight, she still is, I think, I don't know, was a flight attendant. And she came home from a flight once, and she goes, hey, we had this running joke, because at the time when I met her, I worked at the Hard Rock in Vegas, and I would meet celebrities there all the time. And so we had this running joke where she was like, hey, so you're around celebrities, and I run into celebrities on the plane. So do we have like a deal? You know, so we always had this funny running joke, you know. And I'd call her up, and I was like, hey, so I saw Alyssa Milano today. Like, it was a no-go, but, you know. So we would make jokes about this, and she comes home and she says, she goes, so I met a celebrity on a plane tonight. And I said, really? She goes, yeah. She goes, I'm 99% sure I could have had sex with him. You know, we started laughing, and I'm laughing. I'm like, who was it? She goes, Ron Jeremy. Here, I got you his autograph. So it was funny, and I still have it. And it's written on a napkin, Continental Airlines napkin, and it says, to Rocky, my biggest fan, keep it up, Ron Jeremy.
Keep it up.
And I still have it today, and it was just funny. So she had him sign this thing, and then she brought it home. So it was kind of ironic that I had that, and then all of a sudden he got into comedy. But it's interesting how many people have gotten into comedy too. Yeah, like you know, Dolph Ziggler from the WWE. I know Mick Foley also from the WWE. Then you see guys like you know, like of course, you know, your porn stars like Ron Jeremy, and there's others that do it as well. And Dustin Diamond, Screech from Saved by the Bell. You know, it's cool to see him. Todd Bridges, a really good buddy of mine from, of course, you know, Different Strokes and Everyone Hates Chris. I mean, this guy's been around forever. And he was one of those ones that when I met him, I was like, this is not going to be good. Like, I'm going to hate meeting him. And it was funny because he and Dustin Diamond performed on the same night, had him there at the same show. Right. And Dustin was, I wasn't so worried about Dustin. I was worried about, you know, Todd. And Todd, man, it was just a blessing. I mean, like, the show ends and Todd's like, so what are we doing now? What do you want to do? You want to hang out? And I was like, yes, I want to hang out with Todd Bridges. And so we hung out like the entire weekend. We went to the mall. I mean, he's just such a great guy. Dustin was, you know, a little more like, I'm going to hang out, you know, I'm going to hang out here in my room. But he would hang out with us at the club too. And Dustin is a lot like me. We both did magic at a young age. We're both super nerdy. You know, neither one of us are very good looking. So we had, just kidding, Dustin. But we had, we've both shanked people. So it was funny to have them in there that night. Really funny is, did you go to Aces when Aces was there before 3rd Street?
Yeah, over here off...
right across the street, Los Alamos. So I used to have a video that would play before the show would start. And it was me going over the rules. You know, ladies and gentlemen, please keep your table talk to a minimum. We just have a few rules, blah, blah, blah. And it's me. And then at the very end, and we only played the video if I was going to go on stage and host. And it'd say, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage your host and MC, Rocky Osborn, or owner of Aces Comedy Club, whatever. And then I would come out. So the video's playing, and Todd and Dustin are talking about celebrity boxing. And I think Dustin fought somebody in celebrity boxing, maybe Danny Bonaducci or something like that. I forget who it was that he fought. But anyway, so they're talking, and Todd's like, yeah, I was supposed to do that show, but I didn't do it, or whatever, or vice versa. I don't remember the story. And I'm joking with Todd, because now we're buddies, right? We've hung out all day Friday. It was like Thursday, Friday night. Saturday, we went to the mall. We're hanging out. So Saturday night, I'm messing with him, and I'm like, whatever, Todd. I'm like, you're a sissy. And Todd's like, boy, I will kill you. And so jokingly, I lean in like, you know, like I'm gonna jump him. You know what I mean? I'm just screwing around. And his reflex is kicking, and he throws his hand in the air, splits my lip, my bottom lip, wide open. I mean, blood just coming out my bottom lip. And I kid you not, I go like this. I go, and he jumps up and throws his arms around me. He's like, I'm so sorry, I'm so sorry. But we're all laughing hysterically. And I literally have blood trickling down my chin. And all of a sudden I hear, ladies and gentlemen, Rocky Osborn. So I go running out to the stage. I've got blood. And I grab a tissue as I'm running out. And I get up on stage and I'm like this. And I go, and I'm looking at everyone. Everybody's looking at me. And I go, Todd Bridges punched me in the mouth.
That's a good way to start off a set, though.
It was the best. It was the best. But it is funny, you know, when you're talking about Ron Jeremy, it's funny to think about all these different people that do comedy. Yeah. And do something else. I think, I heard through the grapevine, I haven't seen her, but I heard that Susan Olsen, who played Cindy Brady, is doing comedy now. So it's really interesting to see some of the people that do comedy. And it's great to see the people that did comedy that became famous that are now going back to, like, you know, you can still see Jay Leno performing. I think that's amazing. He loves to perform. Yeah. And I hear he's a great guy. I've never had the privilege of meeting him. I know a few people that have, but he's a great guy.
What is it about comedy that you think is so important to society? Because it's its own little weird beast of entertainment, right?
God, you know, I think back in the day, and when I say back in the day, I really mean back in the last like 10 years and further, or maybe not even that long ago, people love to laugh. And if there's anything you love to laugh about, it's making fun of other people or making fun of situations. But as you know now, it's tougher for comedians, right? So you get up on stage and say, well, this gay guy, and now all of a sudden you got 17 people saying, I can't believe you said that. Or you say, they're like, oh, you're not supposed to say gay, or you know what I mean? Like half the time, like, you know how it is. Like I can be on stage and I can say, so I run into this black guy, and all of a sudden, you know what I mean? Now all of a sudden I'm going, is someone going to be mad that I didn't say African American?
Yeah.
Mexican American, or Hispanic. Am I supposed to say Mexican or Hispanic? And so you're so worried about what you're saying that, you know me, I don't care, but I'll say whatever. And if you don't like it, don't come to my show. That's just kind of how I am. But guys like Daniel Tosh. Daniel is absolutely verbally violent, and with what he says, and he's hilarious, and I love his comedy, and he is amazing. But he has people out there that are protesting his shows, or people that are mad about something he said, and all I can think to myself is, why did you go? Don't watch it if you don't want to see it. I mean, this is the thing that drives me the craziest right now is, back in the day, we used to say, my dad would say to me, shut up, toughen up. This kid at school called me a name. Good, shut up. Are you a sissy? No, then shut up. Like that was your dad. And now these days, you're getting a lawsuit because, you offended my kid by calling him a sissy. And I'm
emotional damages.
I'm like, it's crazy. It's just crazy. So you're right. It's a different beast, and people love going. People want to laugh. We love to laugh. Generally, I think people love to laugh. So
I don't know. I've never had anybody laugh in my presence.
No. Yeah, I mean, not at stuff you've said, but it's stuff that other people around you have said, clearly.
What I love about comedy is I think it's so needed because the world's a tough place, man. It can be. And if you don't have that sense of light and the good times, and plus laughing makes you feel good. Absolutely. I don't know, what is it? The endorphins, all those kind of brain chemicals and all that good stuff, man.
When you're stressed, I think there was nothing better. When I first opened the comedy club, I said that. People would say to me all the time, man, you've guys got to, it's got to be stressful. It is stressful, running a club or a restaurant or any business for that matter. But being able to take an hour to an hour and a half out of your day and just stand there, whether I'm on stage making people laugh or I'm sitting in the back just watching people and laughing, it does. It just kind of takes away your cares for the day. You know what I mean? It's like you don't think about it. I just put my hand right in your camera there, didn't I? I had to do it again. I want to do like puppet show or something. But it does. I think it does. And I think that's why people like going. It gets you away from whatever it is. You know what I mean? Your grandma's in the hospital. You got problems at home, financial troubles, work trouble, whatever it is. For that hour and a half, you're not thinking about it. Yeah. And I think that's what people love about comedy.
And next week's guest is going to be Mr. Johnny Herrera.
Hilarious.
Hilarious comedy.
He's hilarious. Yeah.
So 2 weeks of comedians.
Johnny really picked up the torch, if you will. I mean, when I did comedy out here, and we were doing it at a few small places here and there, and then finally I just opened my own club and said, all right, I'm going to open my own club. And then right after we shut down the comedy club, whatever it was, 5-6 years, Johnny really picked up the torch and kind of went out. He went out and started running some shows in some local places. There's a few other people that run some shows as well. But
he's quite the promoter.
He is, that's the thing, is Johnny doesn't care. That's the thing I love about him, is like he'll put out a video and it could get 6 views, but he doesn't care because in his mind is one of those 6 people might show up. But he's a great performer. He's very funny, and he's all about the show. Whereas some people that put on shows because they want stage time. And Johnny's not one of those guys who's putting out shows so he can get time at other people's shows. He does it because he truly enjoys it, and he loves having people on the show.
That's awesome. And he's like way funnier than you, right?
Oh my God, at least 100 times funnier than me. Johnny's great, and I would never say anything negative about him on film, but recorded. No, Johnny's great. I love Johnny. And what's funny about Johnny and me being so similar is that we perform. For the longest time, I was performing to almost the same crowd every single week. So I'm constantly trying to revamp my comedy and move this around or add this joke or whatever. And Johnny does that to Shamrock. I had a lot of different crowds in there. Johnny gets a lot of the same people every single week. And so it's more fun to see Johnny in a different element. So we were at a place in Canyon Lake, and I went there because Johnny was performing with another buddy of mine, and we wanted to go there. And it was so great to watch him do his show for people that haven't seen him perform, because then you get to hear I would say the real laughter of it all, because not that he's not getting real laughter there, but you get what I'm saying. It's just, it was so fresh to these guys that it was enjoyable to me to see how much people loved his jokes that have never heard his jokes. That's awesome. Or, you know what I mean? It was great. So
That's cool, man.
He's great. You're gonna have a lot of fun with him on here. You're gonna need to zoom that camera out though to get all of his hair.
I was gonna say that. So he's known for his afro, and so he's like the antithesis of what I am. So I have no hair, and he has lots of hair, and he's hilarious. That's a play on words.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah. For you to be a comedian, I don't bald area. I don't know.
Bald busting. Bald busting.
Not funny.
Funny? Okay, not funny. So not only are you a talented comedian, but you are also a gifted musician. Not a magician.
Yeah, I play the armpit. It's amazing, and I'm going to show you guys today. Yeah, man, I started doing magic when I was 9 years old. That was the thing. I was 8. I was 8 years old when my dad said, I'm the youngest of 6, right? And then my dad.
So you just wanted all the attention. You got no attention whatsoever.
I got no attention whatsoever. I'm the youngest of 6. I don't even know if I had parents growing up, it's just funny because I said that to my mom the other day. I was like, it's kind of funny because growing up, it was really my brothers and sisters that raised me and made sure that I ate. And you know what I mean? My mom would make dinner, but essentially breakfast and lunch, we weren't the Cleavers. You know what I mean? We didn't wake up. Well, we woke up, but we didn't wake up going, oh. Here's breakfast, kids, and the pancakes and everything else. Like on Sunday, maybe my mom would cook breakfast, but other than that, it was kind of like if you can find food, you can have it. And it was tough. And we grew up super, super poor. Like when people talk about, we literally grew up. I grew up in, I was born in Chicago. Grew up in a little town in Illinois called Donovan. Population, I think, 310. 315 people. Yeah, farmland USA. And then my dad wanted to go somewhere where the winters were nicer, so we moved to Alaska. And it's funny because that's actually probably true. The winters in Alaska better than the winters in Chicago. But so I'm the youngest of 6, and growing up we're super poor. And one day my dad says, we have a visitor coming in a couple of days. And by the way, you're not the youngest of 6. So it was my dad had a son from his first marriage that he never talked about. And I didn't know anything about him. I think there were pictures of a boy at my grandma's house that we were always like, who's that boy? And I think my older brothers and sisters were either suspicious or knew something, but I had no idea. And then we met him, and he did magic. And he was 18, 19 years old. And my birthday was coming up. I want to say it was like September, October. My birthday's in November. Get me something pretty. And it was just amazing, and I was amazed. And so when my birthday came up, your birthday comes up, back then, you're getting, $20, $30 worth of stuff, maybe, if you're lucky. And my dad said, what do you want for your birthday? And I was like, magic. And my dad took me to a magic shop, and I picked out, I think, 3 tricks. And they were great. I loved them.
Well, speaking of tricks, I know you like doing tricks.
Wait, what?
Wait, magic tricks. Let me clarify.
Okay, yeah.
So I think you brought something to the studio?
Nope.
Come on, don't be bashful. Don't be bashful.
I did. I thought about it, and I thought, you know what? I'm going to, this is I call it a magician's close-up pad. I was thinking about how the table here is not so.
Doesn't have a trap door to it.
Doesn't really have a trap door to it. So I thought it would be fun to show you a trick while I was here today. All right?
All right, let's see.
And I'm going to use these cards.
Okay.
And as you can see, they're all different. And they're all blank, right?
Right.
For the most part. Okay, they're all. If you do me a favor, just I'm going to give them to you. Just go ahead and look through them. Make sure they're blank. They're not gimmick. There's not like cards hidden inside the cards or anything like that. There's no gaps, right? It's just,
Right.
Pretty clean, right?
Okay.
Good. What I want you to do is just pull out any card you want.
Okay.
Just pull out a card and then give me the rest of the deck.
And do I show it to you?
Yeah.
No. I'm not used to magic.
Are the people in the back, do I show it to you? Okay, so what you're going to do is take a look at it, right? And then what I want you to do is I just want you to set it right down here in the middle. And then this gets really good. Watch. I'm just going to throw the top on, give it a little flick, and your card jumps right to the top. So that's magic at its finest. Here's the funny thing, is you're laughing because you think it's a joke, but it really happened, right? I'm going to show you. Here's your card. I'm going to show you. I have a permanent marker. Why don't you write your name across the front of that? Write your name on that card.
Okay.
And this way, when you do see this card again, you'll know for a fact that it's the same card, right? You just give me just make sure that's dry. So okay. And time to clean off the lenses. All right? So now what happens is when I take your card and I turn it over and I place it halfway here down into the deck, right?
Yeah.
I'm going to go halfway into the deck with it, give it a flick. If I get the card on the top, Now you'll know that that's really your card when that happens.
Okay.
A little more impressed now, aren't you? So now what I'm going to show you is simple. Watch. I'm going to do it again, this time just a little different. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take your card. I'm going to put it about halfway down to the deck, right? But this time I'm going to try something just a little different. Now you'll notice that my hand's shaking. That's because I was actually born with a tremble. So it's funny, when I do magic, everybody goes, I'm going to see if I can get this into this camera for you. But what I'm going to try to do this time is just a little different. I'm just going to give it a little rub and see if I can get your card to come to the top that way. So it's fun when I do this because people always say, hey, man, are you, you're using a lot of cards. Can you do it with less cards? And the answer is yes. So I'll do it with less cards for you. Watch. What I'll do is I'll take it, I'll slide it off, and I'll put it into a packet that's a little small. I'll put the top over here, and watch as I do this with less cards. Just like that. Not a mistake. Your card always goes to the top. I left the top over here. So that's one of my favorite tricks to do. It's a variation of another trick that we do. You know what? A lot of people always say, "Oh, here, let me." They want to try it, so I'm going to let you try it. Here, you do it. Just push the card in there for me. That's great. Good job. And then the card. My brother's favorite is this one. He always says, "Can you do that one?" He always wants me to do this one. This is where I turn it over, and I bend it. Right? I'll give it a little bend.
Right.
So now, once I put it inside here, you can see that the card is bent. And maybe they can see that there, but you can definitely see that card is bent. Now watch this, because I can't do it any slower than this. Watch. Right there to the top, your card jumps right back up to the top. So, you still have that marker?
I do.
So watch this. What I'm going to do, I'll do one last thing for you here, is I'll take your card, and I'll set it down here. And then I'm going to take this card off the top. I'll take that marker, and I'm going to write my name on it. And there's this thing called Monty. You're familiar with it?
Monty Python?
Monty, 3-card Monty. It's where the cards get tossed around on the table, and you try to figure out whose card is where, right? Which we could do that, but I don't really have a lot of time for that. So, good. So now what we do is I take my card and your card, right? And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put one behind my back. Which one do you think went behind my back?
Mine.
Okay, good. So it was mine. So my card, your card. So what it is just a little, whose card do you think I took that time?
Mine.
Yeah, did you see the flip? So it's a flip. It's a really cool flipping maneuver. Well, anyways, what I'm going to do is something just a little different as a little souvenir. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take my card, put it on the back of your card. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to give it a little flick just like that. What that does is it removes my name from my card and puts it on the back of your card.
All right, that was good.
I know. I did it.
All right. I'm impressed.
One of my favorite tricks to do. One of my favorites.
I don't know how you did that, though. Man.
You're not supposed to.
Jeez.
I tell you, but get kicked out of Hogwarts. You can keep that as a souvenir. Put it on your refrigerator.
Thanks, buddy.
Yeah.
I'm going to sell this on eBay when you're dead.
I don't know if that's going to help you at all.
You're immortal. You're not going to
If
die.
I'm dead, no one's going to buy it.
Oh.
Yeah. Because I'm the only one that would probably buy it. I'd be like, oh, yeah, I remember that guy.
That's impressive, man.
Thank you. Yeah, magic has been my thing forever, so I've always loved doing magic, and I like performing, and people come to me, they're like, oh, man, I'd love to hire you for my kid's show, and I'm like,
Yeah.
no, I don't do kid shows.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm the last person you want at your kid show.
You're not just 18 and over. You're like 21 and over.
I'm like 16 and over, I don't, for me, I used to love doing kid shows, and then, honestly, parents, I'm talking to you, parents ruined it for me, because what happened was parents used to sit, and they would sit the kids down back in the, 70s, 80s, 90s. They'd sit the kids down and they would all enjoy this great magic show. Now they go, okay, the magician's here. Okay, everybody sit over here by the magician. And then the moms go in the kitchen and drink wine, right? And they're just like, okay, the babysitter's got him. And it ruins magic, because now the kids are up wandering around. They're walking around. They're trying to look behind my table. They're like, it's in your pocket. And I'm like, I haven't even done anything yet. You know what I mean? And they're just screaming and yelling. They're walking around. They're trying to pull stuff off of you. And so I find that I don't like doing magic for kids as much as I used to, and now, but I love doing close-up magic, close-up card, coin, stuff like that. So when people book me for shows, they say, hey, you want to come do walk-around magic? Like just walk around and show magic? Yeah, I'd love to. So I just load my pockets up with stuff, and I just wander around, and I love doing magic for people like that.
That's pretty cool, man.
So
I'm sure it got you a lot of dates in college era.
No,
not at all.
Growing up, I'd say in my mid-20s. I tell everybody, I've been through the 3 stages of magic. That's when you're young and you're doing it, and everybody goes, how cute. And then when you're a teenager, and everybody's like, how nerdy. And then you're older, and everybody's like, oh, my kid would love you. It's like, you're like, so you never, like, at no point did I ever run into, you know what I mean? I was never the Chris Angel. Like, at no point did some woman go, oh, my God, that is my card. Take me home now, you stud. Like, that never happened. And but it was always funny because people would always say that to me. Like guys are always like, "Dude, I bet you're a big hit with the women." And I'm like, "What universe do you live in where I'm a big hit because I do magic tricks? You know, is your card the Queen of Hearts? Yes." You know, it's just it was never the thing. I had a woman once. I did magic at a pre-Emmy party once in L.A. I was at the Emmys, the pre-party, celebrities everywhere, and I'm walking around doing table magic, and this girl leans into my ear, and then she goes, "I bet you get girls all the time with this stuff." And I looked over, and I go, "No, not at all." She goes, "Whatever," and then walks away. I was like, "Looks like today's my day." No, hello. No, okay. It was funny.
Man. So not only are you a gifted comedian, inspired magician,
okay,
but you're also quite the entrepreneur, and you have started bizmeets.com.
Yeah. You know, I don't know if we've ever had this story, but when I opened Aces, it was I've had several businesses. I used to own some wireless stores, and you know, I've owned magic shops and other things. And I was getting ready to open, and the city comes to me and says, "Where's your water waiver?" And I said, "Oh, I don't have a water. I don't pay for water here." And he said, No. He goes, "You have to still go to the water company and register your business." Nobody told me this. Nobody told me this. I'm literally opening tomorrow. We open on April Fool's Day. April Fool's Day, I think 2012. So I'm going, wait, what? And they said, or 2011. Anyways, so what are you talking about? He goes, "You just got to go down to the water company and let them know you're here." I go, "I don't pay water. We don't pay the water. The water's paid for by the landlord." And he goes, "Well, technically that's not true." And he goes, "You need to go to the water company." So I go to the water company and I get there, and they looked at me and they said, "Okay, so what kind of business is it?" And I said, "It's a comedy club." "You guys serving food?" "No, we're beer and wine." "Okay." So then she starts calculating stuff, doing stuff. She goes, "All right, we have to pay a fee." And I go, "No. When I rented the place, they said to me, we paid the water. The water's paid for by the bank or whoever. It was in receivership at the time." And I said, "Okay, what do you mean I have to pay for it?" You know, they said they pay for it. And they're like, in order to open, so when the building was opened, they zoned it for certain types of businesses. As you remember, it was all furniture stores back then. So he said, so that's what it was. But now that you're bringing a restaurant, technically, or a bar into it, you're going to be using more water. You're going to have more customers in there than a blah, blah, blah. And I'm going, okay, I don't know that I'm going to have more customers, because even a furniture store has a regular flow of traffic. So why would that matter? Long story short, the water company then says to me, okay, well, you're going to have to pay this or you can't open. So I pulled out my checkbook. I paid a $2,500 deposit to the electric company. So I'm expecting I'm going to have to pay somewhere between $1,000 and $2,500 to the water company. Now, when I said I paid $2,500, your eyes got big. So you might want to put your hand over your eyes. So I said, "How much is it?" So she calculates for a good 2 or 3 minutes and goes, "Okay, based on all of our calculations, it's going to be $72,645.
Wait, what?
True story. True story.
That's
insane.
insane.
So before we could even open our doors, I had to cut a check for $72,645. True story.
How do you just have that lying around? Magic tricks?
Well, let's not talk about where my money comes from. But what's important is it's BS, is what it was. The problem is I didn't know that. I don't know that I would have ran into anybody that knew that, but it happens. And so people struggle through business all the time, right? Things happen all the time. So I said, why isn't there, you know, you have all these networking groups out there and all these things. And really, and you know this because you've been to networking groups, it's a lot of people just trying to promote their own business. Sure. Yeah, that's great. Bald guy, red tie, real estate. Yeah, I know tons of people in real estate. Great. Here's my business card. You know what? Take 2. You know, take 2 of my business cards. That way, if you know somebody else, you're like, get out of here. I'm like, you know. So it's kind of funny because it's really just a lot of people that want to talk about their business. But I said, why isn't there somewhere where people could go learn about their business, where you could talk to other people in the same or similar field and you know, share ideas, concepts, and principles, ask questions, you know, hey, everybody, I'm getting ready to open a restaurant, da, da, da. I don't know that question might have come up or that answer, but you understand what I'm saying. And so I had this idea to build a website, a social media website, where people could join, interact with other people, add friends, add other business people. And most importantly, I love networking. But I always feel like sometimes when you go networking, you run into the same people all the time. And, you know, you run into it and you spend most of your time going, "Hey, John." And now you and I are over there shaking hands and talking, and we're chatting, and, "Hey, how about those Cubs?" And the next thing you know, right? "Oh, hey, Bill." And now you don't really do a lot of networking at a lot of these things once you get to know everybody. I went to a networking mixer, just within the last few weeks. Then when I got there, everybody was just eating. So they all just kind of get there, they're talking to each other, not about business. And then they all grab food, they sit down, and then they raffle off some prizes, and everybody goes home. And I was like, this has got to be the biggest waste of time ever.
It was, yeah.
I learned absolutely nothing. So I had this idea. Build a website, take it to the next level. Mm-hmm. So we built BizMeets, now over 1,000 members. BizMeets is a social media site where you can go on to, you can join groups of people in the same or similar business as you, where you can, just post. It's all posting in there. Hey, everybody, I'm a website developer. I'm a website developer, and, somebody is having an issue in this website that I'm having an issue with blah, 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 blah. Enter. Other website developers can chime in, maybe give you advice, do some stuff. And some of this does exist on other social media sites now, but not entirety. Like, Facebook, right? So Facebook is what it is. So you can go onto Facebook. Maybe there's some groups, but most people aren't there for that. Most people don't know those groups exist. So now they do. Mm-hmm. So you can go there, join groups. Funny is people say to me, so you're like LinkedIn. No, we're nothing like LinkedIn. Maybe you're not listening. So LinkedIn is where business professionals post about themselves. This is where you post about your business. So it's businesses networking with other businesses, and we offer video networking, which is truly the coolest thing in the world. So with us, same thing. You get a notification. You're just sitting at home. Maybe you're in your office. And it's, let's just say it's 9 o'clock at night. Kids are in bed. And you're thinking to yourself, man, I really need to promote my business. All of a sudden, your phone beeps. Beep. You look down. It says, Bald Guy Red Tie just started a networking group. Click here to join. Swipe left, and it goes away. Touch it. Your camera automatically turns on. I'm now looking at Bald Guy Red Tie. Now all of a sudden, John pops on. Bill pops in. Susan. Now all of a sudden, we have 10 people. Once you get to 10 people, nobody new can join. So now you're locked into a group with 10 people. Each person gets 2 minutes to talk about their business. You go back through. If you're the person that started the group, you're the moderator. You control everybody's 2 minutes. When you go back through, make sure everybody gets to leads, questions. Does anybody have any questions for, okay, you guys, we have, John Butler here, real estate. Anybody have any questions for him? Any leads you might like to share with him? So people you do that. Calls last about 40 minutes, and you meet 9 new people every time you log in.
You're a smart dude.
Oh, I know. So it's taken a while. It's been a few years. This has been in the works for years, but we're finally up. We're running. We're live. It's just $10 a month. If you want to do the video networking, it's $10 a month. If you just want to have a profile on there and chat with people like you would on another social media site, it's free. So awesome. It's truly unique. And then we also have a directory like Yelp.
That's cool. So how do they get locked into that? How do they?
Just bizmeets.com. It's B-I-Z, M as in Mary, E-E-T-Z. I always have to say that. So a lot of people go, I'm at BizMeets, but this is some weird site. No, there's another site out there called BizMeets. It's spelled properly. So ours is B-I-Z-M-E-E-T-Z. So Z in the middle, Z at the end, BizMeets, where businesses meet online. Just go to BizMeets, log in, check it out, and tell all your friends to join.
So you're kind of like Mark Zuckerberg, but like funnier.
I don't know. I've never met him, so he might be hilarious. But you know what? I mean, it's funny because you can't even give Mark full credit, right? Because really, it's Tom from
Tom.
MySpace.
We miss you, Tom.
Right? We don't. You know what's amazing is a lot of kids are going back to MySpace these days. If you look at MySpace, yeah, there's a lot of. I looked it up the other day because I was like, is anybody even using MySpace anymore? And they're at like, I forget what it is, but it's like 400 million members or something like that. And I was like, what? But then I found that there are a lot of social media sites out there that you've never heard of. There's a social media site out there called Q. It's mainly I think it's in China or whatever, but there's a lot of social media sites out there that people have never heard of that have millions of users.
There's a lot of Chinese people too.
That's racist.
Most populated country in the world.
I know. Pechanga? Oh, you mean China, sorry.
Speaking of Pechanga, have you performed at Pechanga before?
Long time ago.
Yeah?
Long time ago, back when it was the Improv. Or right after it was the Improv, I think, somewhere in there. But anyways, I've been there. I would perform there sometimes, middle act, sometimes I'd headline there. But nice. I don't perform there anymore. Recently, my daughter was there. My daughter took over the comedy club there, I guess, technically. She doesn't book it, but she ran the comedy club there.
That's awesome.
And now she runs the Eagle's Nest upstairs.
Wow.
So she's the nightlife supervisor. I go, oh, wow, how many of you are there? She goes, just me. I'm like, you're a big dog.
She is. She's running the show.
Sounds good anyways, right? Sounds good on paper.
Well, as always, I like to troll people's Facebook, and so we actually have a nice little segment here of Mr. Rocky Osborn. And first of all, I think what is important for people to know is that you actually have a very famous father, and he too was a comedian.
Am I going to come across this table?
Tyler, can you please pull up the photo of Rocky's father, Mr.
Ozzy Osborn?
Gilbert Godfrey. Look at the reflection on this. That looks just like you, dude.
No.
Like when you smile, your eyes close, and you look like him.
I do smile and my eyes closed. My girlfriend's always like, "Can we take another picture?" I'm like, "It doesn't matter how many we take. If I'm smiling, my eyes are closed." It's funny. You're not the first person to say that. Like people have said to me, "Is Gilbert Gottfried your dad?" And I'm like, "Did you just change your name?" So, no. It's funny too. If I grow out a beard, people say I look like Billy Crystal. So people are like, "You look like Billy Crystal." And then, then of course you got the people that are like, "Oh my God, look, it's Brad Pitt." I just have one of those faces. I could be anybody.
Our next photo on the docket is going to be when you were a very young man, probably when you were starting comedy. A nice little high school photo for the crowd here.
Hilarious.
Look at that guy.
That is, that's funny.
You.
That is my, I want to say my junior year in high school. I know that's not my senior year because my senior year, I didn't know that it was picture day. And I showed up wearing a shirt that said Playboy on it. It was from like the Playboy magazine. It was a T-shirt. I think it was like my brother's, and I took it, and it had the bunny, and it said Playboy, and that's the picture that's actually in my senior yearbook. Yeah, it's so funny.
That's classic.
So I think that's like my junior picture. I graduated high school. I weighed 109 pounds when I graduated high school.
I believe it.
True story. If I showed you my military photo, most people would go, that's not you. But yeah, my military photo, which you don't have, is it's pretty crazy. My girlfriend's like, did you used to be North Korean? Because I look very... Yeah.
Are you Asian? Do you got some Asian in you?
None whatsoever.
Right.
It's funny because if you look at my parents and my brothers and sisters, you're like, adopted? But no, I just whatever.
What else we got on the photo album here,
Is there
Tyler?
something else up here that I need to know about?
Oh, yeah, I forgot. You're kind of a badass.
Oh, yeah, there's that thing too.
So you can beat people up if they don't laugh at your jokes. Is that how that works?
Well, it's more preparing myself in case I insult. I joke with a lot of people when I'm on stage, and I make fun of people, and it's only once that I've ever been really concerned and thought to myself, "Oh my God, this guy's going to hit me." But that's not. I started taking karate at a young age because I've always been a smartass. So can I say that? Beep. But yeah, I have my 2nd degree black belt in American Kempo karate. It's amazing. I absolutely love it.
And you still actively do this?
Oh yeah, as a matter of fact, I'm supposed to be there today.
Nice.
I had a minor surgery last week, and so I don't want to go in because, I don't need stitches popping out because somebody decided to kick me in the stomach. But yeah.
All right. And, so you say you're not a ladies' man. However, I have a photo to disprove that.
How much time do you? She's gorgeous, isn't she?
She's very pretty, man. What's she doing with you? You fall in that category of he has a really nice personality, huh? That's why my wife's married to me.
Probably. I've never been happier in my life, man. I don't know what to tell you, but
she's pretty dynamic, man.
She is beyond it. Like you have no idea. Like people say to me, we're in Vegas. I make these jokes all the time. Some crazy lady came up to me one day and she's like, "Are you single?" And I was like, "No." And she's like, "Too bad for me." And it was like after a show, and my girlfriend's laughing. I'm like, "Babe, you better treat me right. I've got options, And she's laughing, and we're in Vegas, and this heavyset guy, I don't know, 300, 400 pounds, in one of those scooters is going down Fremont Street in Vegas in the scooter, dressed up like Elvis, and we're sitting waiting for the light to change so we can cross over, and he looks up at me and he goes, looks at her, he looks back at me and he goes, "Lucky guy." And then he takes off, and then she elbows me and she's like, "I've got options too." So I will tell you, I don't know that a day has gone by that we don't laugh. Like, we make each other laugh.
Cool. She's
absolutely amazing. She cooks grits and bacon and food that I love, that, that most people go, I love gizzards. And because, my mom grew up in the South and she cooks stuff like this. And she'll say, "Well, I'm going to make this and this." And I'm like, "I'd love some gizzards." She's like, "Oh, I picked you up some gizzards today." I'm like, she's thoughtful, she's sweet, she's gorgeous, but it's funny because people do look at her and everybody goes, "Oh my God, she's so beautiful," but they don't know how beautiful she really is on the inside.
That's cool.
It's more than I can ever say. So I don't deserve her. That's all I can tell you.
And I think that is a perfect place to end this segment of the Red Tie Community Show. So that way you look like a hero when you show her this.
That's exactly what she wrote down for me to say. So
you're just reading the script.
I'm just reading the script.
Teleprompter.
I'm just reading
right
the
there.
teleprompter.
Rocky, you're a funny man. You bring a lot of joy to my life and to thousands of others. Thank you so much for being on the show. Any final parting words?
Don't do drugs.
Drugs are bad, okay?
Drugs are bad, okay. Thank you so much for having me. I really do enjoy it. It's kind of deja vu-ish. I felt like I've been here before, but because it's just been such a comfortable environment. And I just thank you again, man. I had a great time, and I enjoyed talking to you.
That was cool, man. And thanks for the magic trick.
Anytime.
And that's it for this episode of the Red Tie Community with the bald guy in the red tie and Mr. Rocky Osborn. See that magic trick?
That's great.
Yeah, you gotta learn that. I'll teach you sometime. And that's it, folks. This is the ball guy in the red tie saying see you in escrow. Bye.